All right, so first of all, let's talk about quadratics. Quadratics can be pretty much anything in the form of x squared, x to the fourth, x to the sixth. So let's look at something like x squared plus 6x plus 8. That's quadratic. Now, x to the fourth plus 6x squared plus 8. That's quadratic. X to the sixth plus 6x to the third plus 8. The key is, if you notice, where'd my pencil go? There it is. The key is here is that notice how this b's exponent is half of a. B's exponent is half of a. B's exponent is half of a. So at this point, we can treat everything just like that. So let's just look at that one. I know it's some of you will find it very easy, but let's look at it in a different light. So we're going to do this by grouping, because this may help people work with it. So this is factoring by grouping. So we're going to get x squared plus 6x plus 8. So remember, it's a times c, and it adds to make b. So a times c, 1 times 8 is, can't even think right now. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 4 makes 6. So if we take this and we go x squared plus 2x plus 4x plus 8. 2 and 4 right here. 2 times 4 make 8. 2 plus 4 makes 6. So now, at this point, I can do what's called factor by grouping. I can put parentheses around these, and I can look for a greatest common factor. If I look for a greatest common factor of just this first one, I can take out an x out of here and divide an x out of there. So if I divide this one by x and I divide this one by x, I can put an x out in front, and then my problem becomes a little different. I keep losing my pencil. Oh, well, there it is right there. X squared divided by x is x. 2x divided by x is plus 2. And then if I cover this one up here, and I look at this, I can take a 4 out of both of those. So I'm going to divide 4 into that and 4 into that. So I can get a plus 4 right here. And then when I divide that, I get x plus 2. So these two are the same. And it's like we're undoing the distribution now. So now I'm going to take these two and bring them together. And I'm going to get x plus 4 and x plus 2. So it's called factor by grouping. We're grouping these into two different parentheses, and then we're factoring out the greatest common factor. So this x is, so this is where we factor out the greatest common factor. This is where we group. Okay, so why am I showing you that? Because it will help you with stuff like this. So let's just look at this one here, and we're gonna change that one a little bit. I have a black pen right here. So now we're gonna take that and we're gonna change it into x to the fourth plus 6x squared plus 8. Well, the same thing happens. What multiplies to make 8 but adds to make 6? So I've got x to the fourth plus 2x squared plus 4x squared plus 8. So again, if you look at those two right there, 2 times 4 makes 8. 2 plus 4 makes 6. So now as I look at this, I'm going to go, okay, I can group that here, and I can group that here. So now I can take out an x squared out of both of those. So I'm going to divide by x squared. I'm going to divide by x squared. So my x squared comes out front, and I'm left with a parentheses. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. 2x squared divided by x squared is x plus 2. Plus, I can take out a 4 out of that, and I can take a 4 out of that. So if I take out a 4, it becomes out front, so I'm dividing it out, and I get x squared plus 2. So now I take those two here, I bring them down, and I get x squared plus 4, and I get x squared plus 2. So if you notice, they're almost the exact same thing, but they look just a little different. So we're kind of we're always doing the same thing, but sometimes learning a new technique will help you guys out. So this is called factor by grouping. Remember, we grouped them here. We did our A times C adds to make B up here. We grouped them here. We found the greatest common factor out of each one here, and then we put it in there. So let's tackle one more piece on this video, and hopefully I can come up with one that works. All right, so let's do f of x, a little function notation there, is equal to x squared, x to the 4th, sorry, x to the 4th minus I'm trying to think of do this one in my head. Negative, let's say 8x squared let's just do this one. 8x squared plus 16. Okay, so we've got this piece here, and we end up with, we got our A times B adds, A times C adds to make B. So A times C is going to be 4 times 4. So we've got x to the 4th minus 4x squared minus 4x squared plus 16. So if we've got that piece right there, 4 times 4 is 16. Negative 4 plus negative 4 is negative 8. So now, what can I take out of both of these? I can take out an x squared, put an x squared there, and an x squared there. So if I can divide out an x squared, I get x squared, and I get x squared minus 4. And I can take out a negative 4 here and divide out a negative 4 there. So if I divide out a negative 4, I get a negative 4 in front. I get x squared minus 4. And our whole goal is to make these two the same. I didn't state that earlier, but we want to make those two the same so they can become 1. So now I bring down my x squared, I bring down my negative 4, and then I do the same thing, my grouping ones. So now that I grouped, we grouped, and our greatest common factor. Now, a lot of you will look at this and recognize it. Some of you won't. These two can be factored farther. So just remember x squared plus 0x minus 4 times x squared plus 0x minus 4. That's what this reads. So we've got to look at it and say, okay, what can multiply to make negative 4 but add to make 0? Well, that is x plus 2 and x minus 2. And this would be x plus 2 and x minus 2. So sometimes these go a little bit longer. We call this the difference of squares. So factoring by grouping and quadratics go well together. So don't forget that you can factor by grouping. That's the key piece, is learning how to factor by grouping. And that is our next video.